You may remember that I founded and chaired for a number of years the terrorist task force in Congress before September the 11th. And one of the things that really is critical here with this imam and the connections that he's got is that the radical Islamists, we're still at war with them. We're still at war with al-Qaeda. They see this as a sign of weakness. This is not just an insult to the families of the victims of September the 11th. It's also a problem for our soldiers that are still fighting in Afghanistan and Iraq and the efforts that we're making to defeat this enemy we're at war with. It's a sign of weakness to the way they view things.
But from a legal standpoint, Mr. Attorney General, and Mr. Mayor, I'll ask you next about this. When somebody says that America should be Sharia compliant, we know what life under Sharia is. We've been examining it on this program now for the better part of this week. And that is that women don't have rights. Women can't drive in many Sharia countries or countries with Sharia law. Women are stoned to death. What does he mean by that?
Let me respond. Well, first of all, Sharia law is not law in the United States. It never should be a law. I know there are people who want that, and they say in certain cities
Imam wants America Sharia compliant.
But that's right. The Imam wants that, and that's not going to be and is not the law, would not be in Florida. I'm sure it's not in New York. And in addition, the idea of taking money from a terrorist state and bringing it to the United States, I have to check the books, but I believe that that's against the law, too.
Yeah,
and
Mr. Mayor.
I think that all of this is wrong. All of this is wrong.
Yeah, and Mr. Mayor, he has also called for a judiciary within a judiciary. In other words, Sharia courts, something Europe has experienced.
Well, you know, if these people who are so concerned about freedom of religion, which I am very concerned about, how come they're not focusing on that? I mean, that would be an outrageous violation of separation of church and state if all of a sudden we had Sharia law imposed on us, or if we have an imam here who wants to impose Sharia law on the United States. This is an imam who has no regard at all for the doctrine of separation of church and state, freedom of religion. The reason I say they have a right to do it is they have the property, they have certain rights with the property. I really believe that we have to honor freedom of religion. But that doesn't mean that in honoring freedom of religion, we insult people. They can act here like healers if they want to, or they can prove to us that they're not.
It's just very wrong, Sean. The whole thing illegally is wrong in terms of the Sharia part of this. That part also is a weakness sign because we are giving in to something they've been wanting to make a statement on for a long time. This imam, you know, there are practicing Muslims that the mayor and I would say, you know, we know if they had a mosque somewhere else, if it were the right group. This imam is not acting according to what we would normally find acceptable, and to allow this to go on is wrong. It's maybe legally wrong. It's certainly morally wrong.
And in spite of all the controversial statements that he made, America's an accessory, America should be Sharia compliant, our State Department is paying for his trip to the Middle East, which I just, you know.
This administration, it's unbelievable what they're doing. It's unbelievable the effort to embrace this part of the world. In some way, there's, you know, peace through strength is Ronald Reagan's theme. Now we've got a president who's actually trying to appease. That's the sort of the Chamberlain part of this. We cannot appease the radical Islamists. Guys, there's no way you win the war that way. You cannot do that.
All right, we're going to be watching.